You're watching Casually Baked, the podcast, home base for the canna curious. Thanks for tuning in.
It's high time. We had a high time together.
Settle in. It's time to get casually baked.
All right, well, I'm excited to have Danny Keith in the studio with me today. He's like the Energizer Bunny of the cannabis space, but we got acquainted with his Cannabis Club TV project. So I want you to just briefly tell the listeners your elevator pitch. Who is Danny Keith?
Oh, that's scary. So thank you for having me on. This is a long time coming. Yes. Amazing place you have here.
Thank you.
I mean, I walked in, I'm a kind of a geek on this stuff too, and so it was really nice to see something fully laid out and set up and professional. So congratulations on that. It's
Thank you very much.
Who am I? Well, in the cannabis space, I'm a storyteller. And so with Cannabis Club TV, the idea was to produce a platform that allowed different content manufacturers to entertain, educate, inform the consumer, and then on the brand side, giving them a vehicle to provide interaction with an undereducated consumer so that the dispensary benefits and makes sales. So that's just a simple way to say we're broadcasting a lot of content into 10 different states and a little over 100 dispensaries right now. It's been fun.
And that's why we're such great collaborative partners, because you're really pushing me to get my video game going, and that's one of the reasons I was excited to have you here today, so that we could, look at all the camera angles where I've got things and kind of make sure that my vision and your vision matches up, because I want to do big things on CCTV.
Well, you already do have a channel, and you have always been an Energizer Bunny yourself. Like, you're definitely a game changer, and I'm not going to flip the script, but one day I would love to be interviewing you and talking to you about your vision and how you've put this together and really pioneering this out of Oakland, of all places. Kind of like the roots, if you will, of the movement after Humboldt. Oakland's always been kind of a green area people have always associated. So, stoked to be here and stoked to have some fun right now.
Yeah. So the New West Summit is going on just a couple of blocks away from the studio. So we walked over there from that. What's your take on this year's summit?
So I've been in cannabis now for 3 years. Lots of learning. It's almost like dog years for us that have been here for a while. I feel like I've been doing this for 20 years. Shows are hit and miss. I've been to shows that have been packed. I've been to shows that have been empty. I think we talked a little bit about that on the way over. Do you make a good contact? Is there somebody that you get to speak to? And regardless of the show size or attendance, for some reason, I always seem to walk away with some quality relationship that begins to build, or just some more education about something. So New West is, right now I'd say it's a solid event. Jim does a great job. From the process all the way through to the show floor, to the parties after, to the brands that are involved. I think that we're also going through a little bit of a reckoning in the cannabis space where people are not as flush as they were before. And so they're trying to figure out which shows. So maybe the show was busier last year, but maybe it was more fluff.
Well, and I think the other thing, because we can't ignore the elephant in the room, that the Marriott is having some issues of their own, which it's like
to stay relevant, they're striking right now, and
so it's like a moat around the summit where people are like, are you brave enough to cross and go in, or there's some moral compasses that are being questioned, and so it's been an interesting show for sure.
I know of at least 2 different vendors, and I can't recall, and I wouldn't say their names offhand anyways, but that have said I'm not crossing the line. Look, we live in a really interesting time right now. The Marriott, on the other side of the coin, while those workers probably have a right and a reason to be striking, and that's the benefit of living in this country, is we can do that. The Marriott, on the other hand, has been a phenomenal partner. Even though you can tell there's some strain on their staff, they're still killing it, changes to the restaurants, changes to some of the services, but for the most part. So it's, again, that kind of goes hand in glove with the pressures that happen with a show that you can't necessarily control. Man, putting on shows is no fun. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, we both come from
Thank you, Jim, for doing that.
The experiential marketing world. It's tough, and you go to work and it's like, okay, I'm a fireman today. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to put out 10 fires.
Yes. You have your subset of work is coming, not sure. Events, there's so many things that can happen, so many, especially being in Oakland. I remember 2 years ago, we were here for a New West Summit, and they had it was the final game of the Warriors, and they won the championship. And let's just say Oakland lit up that night, and it was like either get out of Oakland right now or sit back and watch the festivities that were about to unfold. So we chose to sit back and watch the facilities unfold. And there was some street racing, there was some fireworks, but it all calmed down.
Yeah.
And so
Oakland is a wild animal.
Oakland's interesting, man. I like it,
Yeah,
but it's definitely it's unpredictable.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing about the controversy that's happening around the show, to me it was very interesting because I'm like, the exact reason that you're standing out here striking is the same reason I have to walk by you and let you shame me, because I got to get in there and hustle the same way. Like it's a struggle to make bank on one project in the cannabis space right now. You have to be mixing it up. And so
I think you are dead on with the fact that we share a similar vein in our protest mode. That we've had to battle, like 3 years ago for us anyways, like dispensaries wouldn't talk to us, like nobody wanted to be forward facing with anything they were doing. Now 3 years later we're getting 2 to 4 applications a week. There's thousands of brands that are coming online. People are starting to understand branding and marketing. It's just what took 20 years in another industry is taking 6, 8, 12 months. So it's definitely it's crazy to be attending an event that a building that I've got my championship rings in, and never would have thought that that Oakland Marriott's or any hotel chain would ever host a cannabis event, because it's still technically not federally, isn't federally accepted whatsoever. So kind of a crazy, it's good times to be involved. That's all I can say. Like, you have to really enjoy the journey, as hard as it is. You have to kind of enjoy the fact that you're getting to witness it firsthand, and hopefully get to hang on long enough to see the ride work out.
Well, yeah, because it's like, if you can just, you're a surfer, so this will totally be a good analogy, but if you can just stay in the flow and just surf through it, and it's like pivoting your ass off, like you can't find an open man pivot.
Yes. Like,
it's crazy right now, but to me that's part of the fun.
I think part of the issue too is on that pivot, like, there's some crazy pivots. Like, I heard some people comment on Mass Roots, and we being like a media company, we're kind of Switzerland in the sense that we don't really pass judgment on anybody, but we just watch and kind of notate what's going on, and like, oh, that was very interesting. Wouldn't have expected that, But if you're gonna pivot on something that's gonna actually work for you. Don't just pivot because it's a shiny object, because if you pivot due to shiny object, you might end up walking off the end of a short plank. And
sure, but that's what separates entrepreneurs, smart entrepreneurs, from wannabes that are just trying to get rich quick,
or just be a part of it. Like, we've really long since focused on staying a media company and not trying to be an agency, not trying to be a production company. We do some large-scale production projects per year, but they're limited because we really want to work and bolster. We want to live where we're at. We want to play our position. And within that, though, there are times that we make pivots on certain things. But I think that's the biggest thing. If I had to give anybody that wants to get in the space advice, like, if you're going to pick something, obviously there's facets to that, but stay focused on and actually complete some things. I think I just was talking with someone earlier. It's like insecurity sometimes lends to people to pivoting, and then they pivot just to cover what they weren't able. It's okay to fail. Yeah. It's okay to fail a lot.
Well, it's good to fail. Yeah.
Don't quit because you failed. You fail and then you skulk off and you pivot. I pivoted. No, you failed and you got freaked out. Like, it's okay.
You failed, but you got back up.
Well, or you avoided it. So don't pivot away from your failures. Like, plow through them and learn from them. Pivot if it makes sense, but I see a lot of people pivoting and go, well, that didn't work, so I'm going to pivot over here.
I've never talked about pivoting for so long.
Right? It's a very hot topic in cannabis, because how many times you hear someone say, well, I used to do data, now we're manufacturing oil. And you're like, how did you go from data to oil? Like, I don't understand,
And that's hard as a corporate storyteller when me trying to be the person that is challenged to tell that story for them. I'm like, shit. I can't get high
You gotta
enough
keep
to
it
put
real.
this together.
Yeah, you just gotta keep it real and tell people that I can't help you. You're on your own. Good luck. Let me know if it works out.
Hilarious. So, you know, one of the struggles of cannabis businesses in the media front is, you know, people put so much energy and effort into their social media. And then, you know, they may rack up 20,000 followers and go to bed that night feeling really good about themselves and wake up the next day and their account's been deactivated. So I think that's something that, you know, as a marketer, I always tell people, drive traffic to your website, don't drive so much traffic to your social media because it's a wild animal and you don't know if it's going to make it. So, you know, that's another reason why I like what you're doing with Cannabis Club TV, and I know there's an app in the future, right?
Sure. We have an app already.
Okay. Well, you need to download it on my phone.
Okay, I will.
You leave.
You know, and again, that goes back to, and I'm going to let you finish what you say, but the app process and everything else, it's like part of us staying focused. Like we're not, we try to manage our resources. But you were saying about the accounts being deleted and people.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I think that a lot of people, because you know my audience, they're generally people who are curious about cannabis, or they're trying to learn more, or you know they're trying to get more involved. But it's like, okay, well, if these accounts are getting deleted or you can't find the content you want on YouTube, you know, I want them to know that there is a steady source of cannabis-related content available to them through your channel. So if you want to talk a little bit about how to find you and kind of how it all functions for the end user.
So we, you know, it kind of, I need to kind of harken back to like why we started.
Okay, I don't mind.
When we saw, I'll make it quick. When we saw, you know, when the dispensary started opening and there started being an actual marketplace for cannabis and brands started to emerge, you know, having worked in the NBA, you kind of understand what you can do with alcohol. Obviously, tobacco, we can't do anything. So you kind of become somewhat educated on the adult use space. And being that you get that education, I started seeing, you know, how that was going to apply to cannabis. And even though there was print mags and, you know, you also look at the evolution of the market where it went from a fairly unregulated to now it's being extremely regulated. We made a hedge bet that print, public advertising, traditional medium advertising, social media, even website to some certain extent was going to be a challenge for people to exist because you have to be more creative on your traditional mediums. I mean, I see billboards on the side of the road, and but there's some very specific regulations that are saying those aren't necessarily legal.
Yeah.
So, and we saw that first wave of corporate induction of, I don't want to say censorship, but like cleaning house. YouTube kicked off, gosh, you know, probably a couple hundred sizable, you know, content manufacturers that at that point suddenly realized, well, we have nowhere to go. Same time, like Facebook really doesn't do anything for cannabis businesses because the fan page algorithms require you to pay, and you can't pay for cannabis, so therefore, unless people go to your page, they don't see it.
Well, and they'll tell you like, hey, this post is performing really well, you should boost it.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, sure,
and
Facebook.
you boost it and they shut you off.
And then they're like, fuck off, you can't boost this.
They just send back the fuck you emoji. Oh, fuck you. But we'll take you $25 for 30 days and we'll give it back.
Right.
And then Instagram is just a total crapshoot. Like you could be, I've had dispensaries who never post price, who never do anything, and constantly get their accounts deleted. And you know, some of it is hater and whatever, and maybe someone's like reporting them. But kind of back to what we saw like, you know, and now with regulations, I'll just speak to California, is like print mags are adult use, right? So they have to be supposedly wrapped and behind the counter on a request by basis on age proof. You're not allowed to do media advertising unless you have a 72% age qualified market. You can't do certain events or activities within a certain range of schools, and you know, but nowhere does it say anything about the in-dispensary component or in a mobile app that's age qualified, or you know, there's some small regulations on web advertising, but we do interstitial kind of content advertising, so it's more of a, you know, we actually have provided a solution for content providers on our website that can host, because we own our own CMS and CDM, they don't have a risk of getting taken off.
Well, that is, first of all, I'm impressed that you could spout percentages of audience recommendation or audience needs and stuff, because I don't know a lot of that stuff. And I have, in fact, I was talking with a couple of your media partners that help on the back end to make all this stuff work, and them describing the whole back end setup. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, your traffic, like from my radio days. I'm like, I totally get what you do. And so you have created a really great way for not only the advertisers to get themselves out there, but then someone like me who can stream through and say like, okay, yeah, I'm interested in the education piece, or I'm interested in cooking, and be able to have those advertisers that are very niche and exactly what I'm looking for there in front of me. So it's something that you're not going to find on YouTube, and certainly not on social media. So
we really wanted to be the expert in the space when it came to content aggregation and providing a place where people could go that were undereducated and not feel like they were just watching, as much as Tommy Chong's a partner of ours. I mean, there's that stigma of just the Cheech and Chong, kind of Spicoli stoner mentality, and there's a large subset of customers that just are never going to pick up a magazine, are never going to look at a social media account, are never going to go to a cup. The only time they have a chance to be integrated or exposed is in our dispensaries that we work with, and then from there, our goal is to lure them to our mobile app or to our website, and eventually into the home. We just want to be the place that people go to find out information about the content. About the product that they may be interested in. And so that's really our main goal, and it's kind of working out right now.
Now, and when you say in the home, do you mean something like being on my Roku or my smart TV or something like that?
Yeah, so we've always had the from the pocket to the couch kind of theory to apply for this content delivery. We've got the system in place, and this goes back to when I interrupted you about the app. 2019 for us holds more resources available to promote the app more, to use the app as a device to be able to deliver the content to the people. We already do, but we just don't talk about it. The website, same thing. We already do, we just don't talk about it. And then probably about the end of this year, maybe sooner, it's kind of dependent on a couple things. But yeah, over the top into the home. I mean, essentially we are an over the top into dispensaries already. We're putting Roku-like devices into the dispensaries and broadcasting content. So we can already do that in the home. It really comes down to, that's a separate business almost when it comes to the advertisers that we can engage, the statistics that we drive, how we build awareness around that. Because again, great, we're in cannabis, awesome, we've got a Roku, we're in the Roku ecosphere. How do people find us? So we have to then begin to really, that's why we work with Upturn, so that we can drive the awareness through our different channels that we have following, and hopefully convert some people to when they're in the home and they want to watch, and it's a different subset of content. At that point, we'll be delivering Cheech and Chong movies and Pineapple Express and different entertainment-based content where people can go find it. They don't necessarily find it on Hulu or, and we're in that space. I mean, to kind of ramble, the whole delivery mechanism of content is changing too. So you have an emerging market of cannabis and you have an emerging market of media, and we've kind of slammed those two together and working on being the expert.
Well, and the other thing that I find a lot, being just right in the middle of, industry professionals and people that are cannabis consumers, like through and through, they're decades in, they love to think that they know everything about cannabis. They know, and so it's, for me, offering this onboarding, kind of welcoming people into the space. It's like offering that diversity of content that isn't just for, this person looking for the funny stoner movie, but somebody that's really looking for ways to, amplify their cannabis use and how that goes hand in hand with their lifestyle. And so, I think because there's so much money being poured into these media brands right now, I'm like, there's an opportunity for this really fresh content to be generated. And so I am, obviously from you prodding me, like trying to get the video piece done. And, my new show, Love, Mary Jane, that launched today.
What?
I'm trying to create a set for that because I want I create written content all the time. Nobody fucking reads anymore.
Yeah. It's hard to read.
You know, I was just in Italy for 2 weeks.
Too stoned to read.
I was in Italy for 2 weeks, and I'm looking over this beautiful vista in Montepulciano.
I saw those photos. Thanks for sharing those, by the way.
Yeah.
It was rad. I felt like I was with you.
Well, good. That's the way I wanted you to feel.
Yeah.
But I look around me, and everybody's looking down at their phone.
Yeah.
And I was like,
It's called phubbing, by the way.
just fake being somewhere, or what?
So snubbing somebody is like, you know, hey, what's up? I'm talking to you. You just kind of look away. Phubbing is phone snubbing, so you're phubbing me. Like, how many times have you been in a conversation and someone's like, yeah, and they just go on phone lock, and you're all, yo, what's up? You know, it's just talking to you.
Okay,
It's called phubbing. Don't phub me, fucker.
I just learned a new word. Thank you for
you're
keeping
welcome.
me
Hey,
cool.
You know, I'm trying to stay relevant in this fast-paced world. These dang youngsters.
Well, you have kids to help you.
Sometimes they just set me up to fail. It's pretty rad, you know. 10-year-old kids tricking you.
You saying that reminded me. So I was just doing a podcast called Story Hinge about the art of storytelling and kind of how I do storytelling in the cannabis space. And the guy was asking me to tell him a story, and I was like, okay. And I was like, well, do you know what dabbing is? And he goes, of course I know what dabbing is. I have kids. And I was like, not that dabbing.
Right? Yo, let me show you what a dab is. Come clean my house with me now.
So yeah, we all know cool words, but it depends on which context.
Multi-interpretations.
Yes, absolutely.
I wanted to comment back a little bit about, and I'm trying to remember the exact words you stated, but essentially it triggered me to think of, you know, I did a lot of time in the surf industry, action sports, and it's a similar industry in the sense that very passionate group of people who tend to know everything and not, you know, really want to be educated or share that education, not really knowing who their customer base was. So I feel like that's a big challenge within the space too, is that, you know, a lot of times people are marketing to the exact people that already consume their product. So that's awesome. That's like reinforcement branding. But if you want new customers, you have to learn how to talk to those new customers. And I think the surf industry it's one of the reasons why it struggles is because it wants to sell to the kooks, which that's a horrible term, but that's the new customer, right? So then they kind of position some like marketing towards them using the core market, and it doesn't really resonate. So like people, they still buy the product, but they don't have that investment feature into the brand. And if you look, there's a number of them out there. I mean, we can name them off, but I think that's the next phase that we'll see these brands start to go through is like, that's awesome. You want to be a 16 to 20, you know, beach lifestyle brand, but your customer base is a 40 to 60 middle-aged woman. And
they got a hell of a lot more money.
Not only that, but don't deny they exist. Like,
right.
Don't keep making marketing materials that showcases that, expecting to retain those customers, and then don't be surprised when you lose those customers because you didn't know they were there.
Right. Yeah, I talk a lot with my customers about, you know, you have to choose an avatar. You have to choose that one person, like your most passionate customer, and it freaks people out because they're like thinking they're going to alienate everyone else. But I'm like, if you have this like streamlined, focused message, it's going to inevitably grow. But it's making sure you're using the right language for that. Is it an entry level? Is it an intermediate? Or is it an advanced consumer? And so that's what helps keep a roof over my head, because people need help with that shit.
Absolutely. And if you're going to make that investment into that, really, you know, make sure that you're following the right vein, because otherwise you could just be, like I said, chasing butterflies and thinking you're a certain brand, and reality, the consumers you have aren't.
Well, and to be authentically that, because a consumer can smell bullshit from a mile away.
Which is hard for some brands, because I think people authentically want to be a certain way, and then you tell them they're not.
Well, but if you say somebody authentically wants to be a certain way, it's like you either are or you're not.
But sometimes they have no traction. So it's like the people that are buying their product are, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
I mean, look, Dosis has done a great job of rebranding and also really identifying who their consumer is, and then taking it one step further and fucking up the market by putting these in-store kiosks into them and staffing them. You know what I mean? So talk about someone who knows their customer. They know their customer wants to use their product, but doesn't know anything about it, but knows the product. So they need an expert to help them kind of jump the shark, if you will, and actually consume. And so that's a great example of somebody who has really focused on who their endemic is and how to maximize. Look, everybody thinks that when they bring a product to market, there's there's a slice of the pie that you have access to. Make sure you understand what that slice is, and then try to stay there and don't lose it by ignoring it.
Yeah, as we say on Teens, stay in your fucking lane.
Yes, right? Unless you're ready to transfer into another category, don't do it.
So tell me what product, or not, well, you can tell me that too, but what content is really performing the best on your channels?
Well,
platform, I should say.
I think there's different types of different dispensaries. So like if you're looking at the East Coast, like up in Maryland or Pennsylvania, more of our educational stuff. Believe it or not, like how to grow is like, we've got a whole growing section, is frequently watched. You start moving more towards the Midwest, it starts becoming more current events, pop culture. And you get to the West Coast, and it's just a mix of entertainment and growing and what is CBD. And so for us, dispensaries have full control over the TVs. They can change the channels. We built the remote into the phone. Some of them don't. These guys are so busy that the reason we're successful is that they don't have to think about us. Like we take care of managing the network in the sense that we'll turn it on and off every day. We'll launch to a different channel every day. We'll trend your market. We'll work with your brands. All you really gotta do is make sure the TV stays on. And we get notified if that happens too. So
I'm going to interject real quick with an important question. So anytime I add content to my YouTube channel now, that will automatically be uploaded onto my channel on CCTV, or do I need to? Yes
and no. So it's always going to be, listen, I have this argument, and I'm going to give a shout out to Traffic Roots, Christian. Guy's got an amazing platform for web banner delivery in the cannabis space. If you're looking to advertise on the web and get a lot of exposure, go check him out. But we can't automate anything because we're a television network. So we have to manually look at every single thing that comes through there. It doesn't mean that we don't instantaneously do that. It just means that we got to make sure it sits on the screen right, that it's, we have to be somewhat of a censor at times to make sure we're not putting up things that are totally offensive. In the beginning, we were less of a censor, and it bit us in the ass a little bit. So yes, when we set up, there's various things that already exist, not like we have rocket science. Like you update your YouTube, we'll get a notice. Okay, we go look at it, we quickly watch it. If you're already like a pre-selected partner, it just goes right up.
I'm highly responsible. Just
you're,
go ahead.
You're a 3-star Michelin, content producer. I don't have to worry about Joe doing anything crazy,
No.
But then you got Super Deluxe and a couple other dudes. Like Super Deluxe is actually pretty good. I shouldn't throw them in there, but there's some guys that we've had to take off the in-dispensary play. You can still live on our phone, you can still live on our website, but it gets narrower. So as we go from phone to web to dispensary to home, the content gets more of like a kind of a pyramid in the sense that not everything makes it all the way to the home. That being said, it does allow some of the content providers a chance to hone their skills, get better sets, get film better, do better post-edit, and they can kind of see, because we can tell them the traffic to their particular channel on a website, and while it's not a lot right now because they've got to put, same thing as YouTube. You put up a YouTube channel, just because you're on YouTube doesn't mean you're gonna have thousands and thousands and thousands of viewers all of a sudden. You still have to kind of drive people to it. So that's a struggle too.
Well, and I haven't driven anyone to my YouTube channel because I'm
noticed,
still
that's
just.
Why I brought it up.
Well, I'm just because I'm like, I'm a perfectionist, and I'm like my studio is not completely set up yet, and I'm not going to.
I disagree.
Shoot some homegrown video.
I wouldn't put you as a perfectionist because you do things definitely top notch. I would put you as somebody that's, because a perfectionist wouldn't execute until everything's exactly
right. Well, you're right.
And you're at least willing to do that. You're willing to at least stage yourself into perfection. So I'd say that you definitely focus on providing a top notch quality product, and then you try to catch up with your visions on what you'd like to accomplish.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You make me feel so much better about myself.
Truth. I mean, it's been a minute since we sat down, so it's not hard to say nice things about you.
Right, I haven't pissed you off lately.
Never have, ever.
So we have done some events together. I got to interview Tommy Chong.
You discovered Stoner Rob.
I did. Oh my god.
Okay, I'm gonna say you rediscovered him. Like we gave him a second life.
He was really funny. I've enjoyed seeing him pop up on some different things you guys are doing.
We've been doing a lot of work together. That doesn't mean that we still want you back.
I was going to say, you don't love him more than you.
Listen, there's different types, right? You send different types of soldiers into different types of wars, and you have a different approach than Stoner Rob.
Oh yes,
you want to get dabbed out of your brain and like talk about some really deep stuff, Stoner Rob. Not that you can't do that, but it's just different.
Yeah, I would. No, that's not my style.
Right, it's just different with Stoner Rob.
Yeah.
And he kind of fits that whole stoner comedian style thing too.
Yeah.
He kind of does that, and so we've been helping him out. He's been helping us out. We've got a show that we're actually doing together called Highly Ghosted. It's still in production, but it's with Medicinal Mike and a couple other people, and it's kind of a supernatural show while you're stoned. We'll see how it goes. And
that's fun.
Medicinal Mike's actually a paranormal, like certified, whatever they are, and Stoner Rob is probably going to lure a bunch of crazy spirits towards him, and hopefully I see him scared out of his wits, and it makes for good TV. So that's one of the ones that we're trying to work on as we go into the over-the-top home play. There's a couple.
So is that original content?
Yeah, that's there. So just like in TV, we work as a co-producer. They handle all the production. They deliver a finished product, and then we broadcast it. So not unlike normal TV.
Yeah.
Different.
I had a vision for Love, Mary, Jane. So
yeah, I think when we start moving into the home play and we can really kind of highlight the really solid content that's coming out, I think it's going to be fun. Look, Netflix has tried with Disjointed and a couple other plays. It's hard when a non-endemic person works on kind of a lifestyle. Like we saw it in surf all the time. They'd make movies and we're like, that's not really what was happening. You know what I mean? So it's going to be fun. We're really looking forward to this next chapter, and it's fun that we can let people be creative, and it doesn't just have to be short punchy vignettes all over the place for the dispensary consumption. It can be sit on your couch and enjoy it. Yeah,
when I was living in Italy, I had just taken that time because I wanted to figure out how to get paid to be myself. And I'm a storyteller and I'm a pot nerd, and I just was like, I have to get out to California, but I didn't realize how freeing and fun it would be to be a creative in the cannabis space. I wake up every day. I have to come up with new content every fucking day. I'm constantly having to figure out what's a great story to tell, what do people need to know, what's something that nobody else is talking about that we really need to touch on. But it's almost like the well of content ideas is so big, and I've been really excited seeing the money starting to come into these different
media plays.
Yeah, and so I'm excited about potentially being able to create some really cool things in a visual format outside of podcasting.
Yeah, I think you were early in the space when it came to the media. When we first started kind of bouncing off each other, maybe just about a year ago.
I think so.
We met
a little. Happy anniversary!
It's happy anniversary.
Yes.
So we, it's like we at a point then I think we had maybe like 6 channels. We were still trying to. It's still funny. I tell people what we do, and they go, "I just don't get it. I just don't know." I'm like, "Do you have cable at home?" Yeah. Okay. Just imagine everything on there is about weed, and they're like, "Oh shit, that sounds insane." And I'm like, "Yeah," And so it really does help to have more channels. We kind of when the YouTube thing happened. We doubled our channel offering, and look, I'm a big fan of like going in plateaus so that you don't out-resource yourself, and you really want to continue to. The race in cannabis is this: it's like you can go a million miles an hour, but if you faceplant and skin your chin, like you're not going to be very, it's not going to be good. So we immediately went from like I think 15 channels, and before it was a struggle to get content. It was like, oh, what's the distribution, this and that. Once people start getting kicked off YouTube, they're like, where else can we go? There isn't anywhere else we can go. And like some of these people had like millions and millions of followers, and they had all this content. Yeah. And a lot of our content providers will also integrate marketing into the actual content. So when they deliver it to us, they've already done their in-program, kind of advertising. And so now they had to fulfill that. And we're able to fulfill that pretty quickly. And that was a big turning point, and so we've kind of paused on the dispensary content application unless it's in certain categories. But for the web, we'll help and host and broadcast whomever, and you can share those broadcasts. They're URL driven, so and you can subscribe to them and you can do everything else. So we want to continue that. We kind of grew really quick, kind of paused, like try to, duck and cover for a minute. And then, YouTube kind of paused on them, on kicking people off. And now, there's been another wave of people losing their, everything okay? People losing their IGs and people losing their YouTubes again. So we suspect like mid-November we'll start intaking some more content, and it's free to host your stuff with us. So
yeah. Now, and I moonlight as a marketing professional in the cannabis space, and so I have people that I would like to tell about advertising and kind of marketing opportunities with you guys. Right now, like kind of, do you have packages that you're offering, advertisers, kind of what's that play right now for cannabis businesses?
So, my really good friend, Dana and I, when we started putting together, he's our chief development officer, and we started putting together these packages. We came from the MBA, so everything was campaign driven and like, let's get you ROI, and like we would build things that would actually activate, because that's what we did, when we worked in basketball. That didn't go over so well in the space. People will spend $17,000 on a Weed Maps placement, but to get them to advertise in front of 5 million customers was foreign to them. And so we struggled, it wasn't until probably January, February of this year that we started really talking about like, how do we meet the market where they're at? And we met the market where they're at was like straight Chinese menu style ordering, which is like X amount of dollars per screen, here's the screens. Tell us how many you want to be on. If you want to be on all of them, we'll cap it, and as long as you stay there, as we add new screens, we'll grandfather you, because we have a considerable amount of airtime to be able to sell, because we're TV. So
yeah. Well, and I want to add, I want to advertise Love Mary Jane, I want to advertise Casually Baked, and so
we can probably take care of that for you.
Oh.
And so I guess to kind of cap that off, right now we're at $9 a location, so you can buy our entire network for a little over $1,000 and be in front of 7 million people as an advertiser. So, we've gone from having 3 advertisers when we were trying to build campaigns to close to 100 advertisers now, with the likes of Flav and Candescent and Super Closet and Pen Simple. I mean, we have everything from ancillary plays to the cannabis facing, and we also have a marketplace. So like if these brands have a product but they don't know how to do e-commerce or can't function on e-commerce or can't get credit card processing, we'll do that service for them as well. So really everything we're trying to do is lift the brands, get them in front of the consumer, educate the consumer so that they find a way to purchase, whether it's in the dispensary, through our marketplace, or going back to the brand's website.
Right on.
And it's cheap, super cheap.
Totally.
Which
All right,
pisses people off because my competition charges more.
Well, yeah, sucks to be them, I guess.
Yeah. They can always come, join the team.
So we're coming into the holiday season. Like, it's super busy right now. It's harvest in October, and I feel like a lot of times kind of advertisers and people just end up kind of going dark in December and not putting out new content. And so is that something that because I'm constantly like, oh my god, it's never ending, I can't get ahead. And just by me being gone for 2 weeks, I saw a significant fall in my podcast downloads, because it's like people, I need new
relevant,
yeah. And so do you have any advice for advertisers and creatives, people like me in the space, when you're coming into November and December and you're trying to have a real life, but do you recycle programming? Do you still try to put together new content around the holidays? What do you think?
So that's, that goes into kind of gosh, how do I answer that question? Because I have like 3 different answers. I think it's a time period, this fourth quarter, like traditionally people are slowing down more with family, but they still want to engage. I mean, it used to be people just went dark during the holidays. I think now, you see it in traditional programming where, Pawn Stars, for example, like they'll go on a Pawn Stars marathon, or they'll put the best of together.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people do enjoy that. I do, we used to be a society 20 years ago that consumed product or content once, put it away. Now people revisit that content, people share that content. So I think there's a way to like if you're trying to have a regular life over the holidays, which if you're in cannabis, that's asinine, but you definitely put together stuff to keep yourself, it's all about the consistency of showing up. Dana told me that I don't know where we were driving, but you know, he's like, fuck, we just got to keep showing up, man. And if we just keep showing up and saying, hi, we're here, you know, people have to accept us and engage. And that's just normal. So I think however you're doing it, whether you're putting out new content, whatever, repackaging content, just don't be lazy, man. You know, don't do things the easy way, do them the right way. Sometimes doing the right way is really fucking hard, but you get to a better result than just doing things the easy way. That's why Dana and I work so well together, because I'll push him, he pushes me, you know, and we just signed a new advisor, Tim Seymour, Fast Money, right? Crazy. Like, why would he even want to be working with us, right? The guy's like, could do whatever he wants, you know, and he was coming into town and it just wasn't working, the time wasn't gelling. I called Dana, Dana's like, you gotta go do it, you gotta figure it out. Like, so I picked him up with a freaking media tube coming through the middle of my car and like, did a poor man's wash on my car real quick and vacuumed it 6 in the morning and drive to San Francisco, pick him up, and you know, had lunch. And those are the kinds of things that will go in your podcast when you do make it, you know. And so you gotta kind of take that meeting, book that trip, you know, take that chance, or else fuck, no one's gonna come and go, hey, I'm here, here's all the success that you've ever wanted, let me give it to you. You know, maybe that happens, I guess, if you know, you're in the Trump family, but not in my life. It doesn't happen. I gotta go get it. And you're the same way. You work your ass off.
You weren't a millionaire at 7 years old.
No, I wasn't making $200,000 a year at 4. You know, bummer. Shocker.
Right. But you know that, and I'm glad you said that. You've inspired me, because there is a podcasting event called Women Work, I think, in New York in November, and the people that create a lot of the, like, Two Dope Queens and a lot of those podcasts, they're looking for new content.
Sure. And
they've got a grant for someone, and I'm like, oh, I just need to go there and let them hear my 2 shows. But then I'm like, fuck, it's gonna be like $3,000
easily
going, being there, going to the conference, eating, coming in. And I'm like, do I have an extra $3,000? And in my, you know, the other side of my head, it's like, no, but you have a credit card.
Right.
So it's just like you're constantly making those decisions. Like, do I go for this? Do I hang on to my money? What do I do?
It's the only way I mean, unfortunately, it's one of the reasons why I can't have a regular job. Once I've got the job done, I'm like, why do I need to be here? You know, I'm going to go do something else. And, you know, people sell off their time for a paycheck, and they're not even really that productive, most of them. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've had my controller say, you have $752 in the bank, and you're trying to charge a $900 air flight. I'm like, but I gotta fucking go. So how much money do I need to put in? Okay, cool, let's go. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, it always somewhat tries to work out. Look, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fall on your face. Walt Disney was bankrupt until he was 50, you know, and then he made it. You know, Larry King was 42, sitting in a hotel room, destitute and a drunk, and was discovered, you know, on talk show circuit. So I don't know, man, get one life.
Yeah, I agree.
Fuck it up, or I guess be boring. I can't be boring.
No, and I tell everybody around me, like, you are a powerful creator. Like, whatever you want, you can do it.
So
it
many
can happen.
People, like, you go, what do you want to do? And what do you mean? I'm like, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? What, you know, if you tell me I want to be rich, okay, that's the byproduct of what you do. Like, unless you're gonna hit a scratcher or go buy the Powerball, like, that's not happening. So what do you want to do? What makes you happy? You know, it's like, people don't understand the currency of happiness and fulfillment and success. And, you know, we always base everything on how much money is in our bank account or how much we're getting paid. Like, I can get paid nothing or $1 million, you're gonna get the same me.
Yeah.
Most people don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
They're so incentive based that if they're not getting incentive or attaboys or whatever, I mean, fuck, I've eaten some shit, man, to be where I'm at. Not just in this business, but in almost everything I've ever tried to do. And, you know, it's a cliche saying, but nothing great comes easy. And so you gotta fucking kind of take a chance.
Well, and you said people are incentive based, and a lot of those same people are also fear based.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's like,
back to the pivot comment. Oh shit, I failed. I gotta do that. I'm doing that now. That's the old me. That's not me anymore. This is the new me.
Right. Yeah, I have a new email address.
Yeah. That's the 17th one I've gotten for you, but sure, I'll put it in there.
Yeah, I'm just like, don't give me your card.
Yeah.
But it's fun to talk about, you know, kind of core feelings, how we want to feel in our job and stuff, because that's ultimately how I got here. Is I wanted to be authentic. I wanted to just wake up and joyfully do my work, and it turns out that that's smoking pot and writing and telling stories, and so
Sounds like a fun time to me.
I am making a go of it.
Well, and I think, you know, the other aspect is, you know, if you don't know pain, you don't know pleasure, you know, and so it's like, and I keep banging on those kind of metaphors, but, you know, life is a journey, man. Like, if you just want to figure it out real quick, well, I know some people that figured it out real quick, and they're kind of empty, and they kind of have some failed marriages, and like they
Read
don't,
a book.
they're just not happy, you know what I mean? And happiness comes from like different, I don't know, for me it comes from a different place, you know, and that place is being uncomfortable. Like, I have to be uncomfortable, always. Like, if I'm comfortable, I'm bored. So it's like, it put me in something that, you know, throw me in last minute to something, whatever. That's kind of what stokes my fire. Making me sit in a chair and like do reports and stuff, not probably the best way to use me. But
Yes, you're a high achiever. You're like me. That is that intensity, that being on your toes. I've got to make a decision, and you know, and just fully lean into whichever one that is, whether or not it's the right one. And as you know, my family often tells me, like, everybody's not like you. Like, that's, you know, and so I constantly
took me about 4 years of counseling to realize that was true. The counselor's like, you're a weirdo, okay? But in a good way. Like, thanks, I appreciate that. I'm not sure it's a compliment, but whatever.
Well, I love you, weirdo, and I'm glad that
too.
we collaborate, and I'm glad you finally came to the studio.
I can't believe it's taken me this long, and I look forward to seeing what other crazy stuff you do. You know, you're definitely, do you want to give a shout out on what social media handles to follow you at, or?
Well, they know to follow me at Casually Baked, but how do they follow you?
You can follow Cannabis Club TV on Instagram at Cannabis Club TV. We are on Facebook, but it's, you know, whatever. And then our website is cannabisclub.tv. You can watch our episodes there, and then you can also download our app. It's only available on the iPhone right now, and you can download that. It's Cannabis Club TV, or put in like Tommy Chong, and it'll pop up. And it's a free app. Broadcast all of our channels through there. And actually, through the app, we don't put any ads right now. It's just straight content. We just want the followers. You know? And so, and then for me, it's at Ricky Danny, if you want to see what the hell's going on in my life and see my goofy photos. But yeah.
Well, and I don't even know how to tell somebody what channel I'm on Cannabis Club TV.
Shoot.
Because we walked over here, and
We should figure that out before.
Yeah, we'll throw it up on an Insta story or something.
We will. We'll tag it, and we'll make sure we put a post up today.
And I promise that I have a witness in the studio right now that there are video cameras, and there will be video soon.
Yes, and I'm coming back when they get videoed.
Yes.
I kind of have a face for radio, but I'll do my best.
I don't know. You got a shout out for your pretty dope outfit today.
I know. You got to have a little flair if you're going to come to these shows. You can't come on your lawn shoes and your baggy sweats, you know.
I have on a black sweater and jeans and black boots, and he has on a mint green hat and turquoise tennis shoes.
And an old school, like, golfer jacket or something.
Yeah, it's a blazer. That's a full fucking blazer.
Yeah.
And a Cannabis Club TV t-shirt.
Gotta keep the branding going.
There you go.
Well, if I can do a couple of shouts, I have.
Yes, go for it.
You know, we have a team all over the United States. So we have people in Cali, we have people in Pennsylvania, we have people in Maryland, we have people up in Oregon. We have great partners. You know, we have a great PR person, great social media team with Upturn. Great digital guys. Like, it's really an army that kind of helps us do what we do every day. And I just get to kind of take credit and do high fives. But There's a ton of people doing heavy lifting. So
I'm an army of one right now, so I'm a little bit
it's
jelly
crazy
right
to
now.
have people. Dana actually called it a cult last night, so I might just turn around and register at church. But it's when you do something positively, you try to invest in humans, and for whatever reason, the cannabis space feels like a little bit different than just a traditional business for me.
Yeah.
It's fun. We're having
it's
a good
tribe.
time.
It's a tribe. It really is.
And we have a good tribe of people. You know, some of them stay, some of them have to go, but they always go on to somewhere better or within the industry, and that's the same thing that happened with me at my surf shop. So, you build people, you can't hold on to them forever, but while you have them, you have to appreciate them, and so thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a quote about that somewhere.
What does it say? What's a quote?
If you love someone, set them
Oh
free.
shit! If they don't come back, you hunt them down and kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that one. That's my
exactly.
favorite.
Yay!